Hey, what's up everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again. Today we're doing another discography ranking for you, and we are going to be talking about Enforcer. This band just dropped their brand new album this past Friday, Nostalgia. This is their 6th full-length album. If you haven't heard this band before, this is some like traditional heavy metal, speed metal from Sweden. They were really one of the front runners of this whole new movement, the new wave of traditional heavy metal. Really one of the bands that helped kickstart this whole wave of music. I mean, their debut album was back from 2008, and that's really when this movement started taking off. Not to say that they're the only band that kickstarted it, of course. There's a lot of bands that helped push this along, but if you haven't heard this band before, be for fans of bands like Iron Maiden, Exciter, maybe more on the modern side, bands like Skullfist or Evil Invaders. The best description I've heard of this band is Motley Crue on speed, because they do have that like 80s glam element to their sound, but then like mixed in with that, it's got the traditional heavy metal stylings mixed with like new wave of British heavy metal, and then so much speed. So it's just a really unique combination, really throwback sound to the 80s heyday of classic heavy metal. This was started as a one-man band by Olaf Wikstrand. He's still the one man that's been there the whole time doing lead vocals and guitar. And yeah, this band, like their first 4 albums, I listened to the shit out of. Absolutely amazing stuff. Then they had a little bit of a bump in the road with the 5th album. I didn't like that one too much, but then we'll see how the new one compares to the rest. Does it stack up? Was it a nice return to form? We're going to find out very shortly. I'm going to run through all of these albums, including the brand new one. I'm going to go from my least favorite down to my favorite. So without further ado, here we go. So based on the comments I just said, I'm sure you can guess which one is going to be my least favorite. And that is their second most recent album, or their 5th album overall, from 2019, Zenith. So this one, compared to the first 4 albums, I was majorly disappointed with this album. Unfortunately, it, to me, is clearly the dud in their otherwise stellar catalog. The speed element of their songwriting was mostly gone here, and they almost went for like an arena rock feel, but for the most part, it misses the mark. It just didn't quite capture that vibe and spirit that their other albums had. I didn't really like this direction for the band. There are still a couple faster paced tracks on this album, which are the 2 songs that I really enjoy on the album, Searching for You and Thunder and Hell. Those ones sound like they could be on a previous album. But the rest of the album, I just don't really enjoy. This one is a major disappointment, especially after how much I enjoyed the first 4. So that being said, I mean, go listen to it yourself. Let me know if you love this album. That's fine too. These are just my opinions. But for me, this was a very easy choice for which one is my least favorite. I almost never go back to this album, because if I feel like listening to Enforcer is not going to be Zenith, it's going to be one of their other albums. All right, let's get on to better stuff. Top 5. From here on out, I really enjoy all of these albums. That one was really the only one that I'm kind of sour on, but the rest are really awesome and definitely worth your time. So for today, coming in 5th place, I'm going with the brand new one, Nostalgia, just released this past Friday. So after the major disappointment that was Zenith, this one is an excellent return to form. Absolutely amazing album. It's just got that 80s throwback sound. It's got this really nice mix of like ripping songs with that thrashy, speedy edge, and then it's got these really anthemic, like new wave of British heavy metal style songs as well. And there's even some ballads, and it's got that hint of glam over the whole backdrop of the whole thing. This album changes tempo a lot, but it's just so much more enjoyable than Zenith. It's got the right balance between the rippers and the slower songs or mid-paced songs, and it's just got an overall better feeling. It's maybe what they were going for with Zenith, but it's executed so much better here. This one could climb even higher. I'm only putting it in 5th today because, I mean, I've only spent like 3 days with this album compared to the next 4 that I'm talking about that I've listened to for years. So in time, yes, this could climb. I am very impressed with this album. It makes me really enjoy the direction that they're going again, but maybe it's not as fast and speedy as their first couple albums, and it's maybe not as stand out as those, but nonetheless, this is just tons of fun, fist-pumping, heavy metal glory, exactly what I want in this type of album. If I had to pick favorite songs, Coming Alive is awesome, Kiss of Death, Unshackle Me. And really, front to back, there's not really any dull moments here. Even the ballads are pretty well done. Those might not be for everyone, but I like this album from start to finish. Pretty solid stuff. I'm sure you'll see it at the end of the month on my albums of the month list. We'll see how high it ends up. But yeah, just because it's in 5th place, don't write it off. It's just because I haven't spent nearly as much time with it as the top 4. So we'll see in time if it rises even higher. All right, now into the top 4. In 4th place, I'm going all the way back to their debut from 2008, Into the Night. So this one has just got such an old school vibe to it. Just speedy and thrashy traditional heavy metal with high-pitched vocals. The vocals might not be for everyone. On this album, it's a little bit rawer and rougher around the edges than the later albums. This is just pure 80s worship though, and it's so well executed. Like I said, maybe overall this isn't, the sound isn't as polished, the production's not as polished as on subsequent albums, but this one rips all the way through. Like, there's no ballads on this album. This is just speed through and through. Yeah, hyper speed throughout, the rawer approach, but great riffs, melodies, and solos, and it's just full of catchy tunes. I will say the songwriting would definitely get better on the few albums that follow it, but this is another one that's just tons of fun. Got that pure throwback speed metal sound. Great songs like Mistress from Hell, the title track Into the Night, Speed Queen. All in all, absolutely great debut in 4th place. All right, up next in 3rd, I'm going to go to their 4th album, which is from 2015, From Beyond. So this one, compared to the first 3 albums, it did start to go in maybe a slightly more commercial direction, a little more accessible than their previous albums, but it still kicks so much ass. Like, this is a tribute to 80s heavy metal glory, and it's just full of adrenaline. Like, there's so much energy on this album, and like, I know the new album's called Nostalgia, but this album is nostalgic in a way. Like, maybe it's not original in its approach, but it brings you back to those early 80s metal albums, and I just love the energy and vibe throughout this whole album. It's really well done, super engaging stuff here. You got great catchy songs like Destroyer, Undying Evil, the title track From Beyond. Like, all in all, another one front to back where there's not really any weak moments. I enjoy this whole album. Really awesome stuff. It's only in 3rd place because I give the edge to the next 2. All right, so speaking of the next 2 albums, this is where it got really tough. These are clearly my first, like, my top 2 favorite Enforcer albums, but which order to put them in is always kind of a toss-up because they're buried neck and neck. But for today, in 2nd place, I'm going to go with their 3rd album from 2013, Death by Fire. So this one very much continues the style from the previous album, the sophomore album, which I haven't talked about yet, of course. This is right on par with it. It's just full of great riffs and catchy hooks. Like, it's got speedy, thrashy songs with great vocals, and the solos slay, and all in all, it's just an extremely solid, enjoyable album. Like, these songs will stick in your head. I talked about the debut before, how it was more of like a raw approach and the songwriting will get better. Go listen to the debut, then listen to this right after, and that will just show you how much their songwriting had even improved just a couple albums later, how much catchier these songs are, and choruses that will just be ingrained forever in your mind. Mesmerized by Fire, a great track on here. That's a perfect example of a song that, like, reminds me of Motley Crue, but faster and better. Take Me Out of This Nightmare, absolutely great. Death Rides This Night, Run for Your Life. Like, this whole album kicks ass, awesome stuff, in 2nd place. So that just leaves one. My favorite Enforcer album is their sophomore album, which is from 2010, titled Diamonds. This one, compared to the debut, a lot more polished. Once again, catchier songs that are so well done. Pretty much everything I just said about Death by Fire, you can apply it here to Diamonds, but I feel like this one gets the edge a little bit. It's just so great. This is a modern day classic, in my opinion. It's just a perfect example of this throwback style done right. A lot of the new wave of traditional heavy metal bands like try to capture that 80s style, but maybe don't put out as memorable of albums. The songs don't stick in your head, but here is how you do it right. These songs are so goddamn catchy, so head-bangable, and sing-alongable. This is a lot more technical than the debut in terms of the riff writing and solos. The vocals are actually improved a lot too, gets rid of some of the raw approach, and this just kicks ass from front to back. This maybe isn't like 100% 100% hyperspeed like the debut was, but they start to throw in some changes of pace, and it helps the structure of the album. It makes some songs stand out a little bit more because it's not as one note. It's not just speedy all the way through, but don't get me wrong, there is still a lot of speed metal on this album. Absolutely love it. Favorite tracks, Midnight Vice, Running in Menace, Katana, Live for the Night. All in all, amazing album. If you've never heard Enforcer before, go start with Diamonds. It'll show you what they're all about, let you know whether you're going to like the band or not. So anyways, these are just my thoughts and opinions as usual. Give me your picks down below. What's your ranking of Enforcer's albums? What do you think of the new one, Nostalgia, that just came out? And until next time, Hammerheart Metal Reviews out.